everybody. Welcome to a live stream. I'm so glad to be back with these. And we have a doozy of a slate of stories for today. Oh, controversy central. So let me do a little bit of a tap dance as I cover these very, very difficult topics. But I think they're all very important, particularly the second two. So I'm excited to discuss them with you. So we'll give everybody just a moment to join in. People sometimes aren't waiting for, they're waiting for the stream to start before they join in. That's right, Graham. It's a Dirt News Day. It's so nice to see all of you. Welcome, welcome. Of course, anyone is allowed to watch and see this conversation. If you'd like to join in the conversation, members are allowed to comment. So the link to do so is down below. And also, new merch, as you can see. New merch. Available now at gracerandolphstore.com. And it's your favorite emojis. You guys are using them right now in the news feed, in the live feed there, the chat, paired with some of your favorite Beyond the Trailer sayings. So we've got t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, a sticker sheet, if you'd like to just have these cool images. And then also that mug, if you'd like to get all the Grace emojis in one item. And that has a Beyond the Trailer logo on it as well. You just can't see it in that specific picture. All right, let's get started, everybody. This is going to be a crazy, crazy, crazy day. All right, so we're going to start off light. We're going to start off with the least controversial story. So, boop. All right, so I have the trailers, the most watched trailers. So this hasn't been updated just yet for the new Thor Love and Thunder number. But Thor Love and Thunder, it's been revealed in its first 24 hours, racked up 209 million views, which would put it at number 7, knocking down It, the first It chapter, by 1, and taking The Lion King out of the top 10. So I was like, what's the history of trailer views? It's happening, it's being made right as we speak, because you can see that all these movies, there isn't a movie before 2017, which was in fact when the first Thor Ragnarok trailer came out. So I looked it up, and the Thor Ragnarok trailer, again back in 2017, had 136 million views in its first 24 hours, which was the most ever for Disney and Marvel. And it was just behind It, which at that time was the most watched trailer in the first 24 hours of all time, and had come out just a month prior with 197 million views. So that's fascinating. So you can see that 2017 is when trailers really started to take off, and It had unseated the Fast and Furious, which had been the previous record holder, with 139 million. So for a while there, 139 was the top number. Then comes the It Chapter 1 trailer, knocks that out with 197. Then Thor Ragnarok, just a month later, has their trailer, which comes in at number, before that, still actually not even higher than Fast and Furious at 136, which is why the headlines at that time said, oh, it's Disney and Marvel's most watched trailer, because they were still behind Warner Brothers and Universal in 2017. Although, look how the times have changed. Now Disney dominates this list, particularly with Marvel. Sony might have the number 1 spot, but that's, technically a Marvel movie, MCU movie. So that's incredible. 209 is very, very good. I think that the reason that it did so well is because of I think people just like, for all the complaining, I think people like Taika Waititi's version of Thor. Chris Hemsworth is very funny. And then also, of course, the Mighty Thor, as GP just pointed out, we got the debut of Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor. And so I think that got a lot of traction as well. I was like, what about the Batman? Everybody talked about the Batman. Why isn't a Warner Brothers? Why isn't a DC movie on this stupid list? So I looked it up, and the Batman, in its first 24 hours, did only 31 million views. Can you believe that? It's not even close to the rest of these. I mean, and that was a hot trailer. So that's disheartening. That's sad. That makes me sad. Maybe for the Batman 2. They might be able, but that's a long way to climb, boy. They're not even anywhere near, they're 31 million. That's not even near 100 million. And we're already in the 200s for this. I mean, that's just shocking. Shocking! So I also think that with all these trailer views, they should have less trailers in the theater, quite frankly. There's too many trailers before a movie. 20 to 30 minute pre-show. We've already seen all the trailers. I think that they should just get to the movie. Like when I go to press screenings, they just start the movie, and it's a delight. How do you guys feel? Do you like seeing the trailer in theaters? I mean, I'll just whisper to the people I'm with being like, what do you think of that trailer? So what do you guys think? Oh, Devin likes him. Oh, you guys like him. Ah, that's so cute. Oh, that's good. Maybe it should just be shorter then. I think 20 to 30 minutes is way too long. Maybe like 10 minutes or 15-minute pre-show I think would be better. But it's just too many. But I think your guys' enthusiasm for the trailers makes me all happy and makes me feel better about them. So that's great. I'm glad you like them so much. Although Lisa says her husband hates them. So her husband and I are on the same page on that one. So this is like super low. But anyway, I'm very happy for Thor: Love and Thunder. I think that means it's a hot movie. The first one, of course, did 850-some million globally. So maybe Thor Ragnarok has a chance at hitting $1 billion. Let's see what the reviews are like. I really also think I think it's got to be Taika Waititi's Thor because the first one did so well as well. You know, it broke records at the time that it came out for Disney and Marvel. I think, but it still delivered not $1 billion picture. But I think that, you know, making everybody wait so long for this trailer, but you know, you didn't have to watch it multiple times if you didn't care for it. I thought it was a good teaser. I thought it was good. I thought it was excellent. I liked it. Did you guys like the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer? And how many times did you watch it, by the way? Most people really enjoyed it. 5 times. 12 times! Oh, Tyler. That's fantastic. 1,000 times, Jacob? I think you're just saying that, but your enthusiasm is appreciated. Thanks, Kelly. That's awesome. It was a very good trailer. It was an excellent trailer. I'm very happy for it. And so, but see, even with that amazing number, it's still just number 7. Look at the Lord of the Rings Amazon Studios thing. I'm sure House of the Dragon's like, we got to get up there, man. We got to get up there. I think mixing in television trailers is like, whoa. That like streaming trailers, I'm like, shouldn't they have their own chart? But the fact that the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power can even compete. But you know, everybody watched The Wheel of Time. That had amazing viewership, even though nobody seemed to talk about it. So we'll see what happens. But the Rings of Power, therefore, no wonder the House of the Dragon is coming out before it. They're like, we better get there first. All right, so that's the first story of the day. All right, second story of the day. Boop. Johnny Depp trending all day long, quite high. He's currently, last I checked, at number 4 because he's giving some very compelling testimony in his current defamation lawsuit here in the United States. Now, he already had a case in the UK, which was for slander against some newspapers. And I got to say, the UK has very different standards for what they consider proof. And I was disappointed that the judge there seemed to become personally involved emotionally with the case. I can't speak for that judge's life experiences, but I felt that the judge inflicted his own personal thoughts and experiences into the case, which I thought was uncool. And of course, Johnny Depp paid a very high price for that UK case because there was a verdict of guilty. You know, the UK case sided with Amber Heard and the papers. And that was the basis that Warner Brothers used to get rid of him for Grindelwald because he had been legally labeled a wife beater. That was horrible. And when that happened, I had said that I thought Johnny Depp should just drop this. I was like, Johnny Depp, focus on being healthy, get clean, and then just try and build your career back up. Hey, MJC. But I have to say, this USA case is going incredibly well. And I think that his testimony today has been quite strong. I think it has been extremely believable and I think quite moving. And they have more testimony to come. I think that when this story first came out with Amber Heard, we were in a phase of believe women, which is important. And I think, though, that Johnny Depp is going to evolve it into believe people. I think that believe was turned into something of, I don't think it should be believe. I think what it should be is don't dismiss. I think that that's what's really important. You know, I think that it's very important to you know, not guilty, you know, innocent until proven guilty is an extremely important building block of the United States whole system. And I think that we've somewhere along the ways lost that with, you know, very quick judgments being made on social media where things are often misconstrued, sometimes, you know, often unintentionally, to be fair, but sometimes intentionally. And so, you know, that's why we have a court of law, so that you have to have things like evidence. Yes, you know, that crazy thing called evidence. And it turns out that Johnny Depp has a significant amount of evidence against Amber Heard. And I've talked to some people in the press. Amber Heard, I've heard, is extremely litigious and has a number of lawyers who will sue anyone who, you know, sides with Johnny Depp, which is one of the reasons I think you've seen the press sit this one out to a degree. But, you know, Johnny Depp should feel really nice that so many of his fans believe him and have kept up with it and have fought a crusade on his behalf. And a number of people he knows in real life. I think, I don't know what's going to happen with this case. I think that spousal abuse cases are very difficult, especially because Depp was dealing with substance abuse at the time. So he can't 1,000% account for his mental state or his actions, because that, I think, really clouds the waters. It is a jury case, I believe, Madeline. So I think that he has a difficult road ahead of him. But I think that it's incredibly valuable just giving him the chance to speak out. He said today, quite moving, you know, he was quite moving, where he said, this is the first chance in all this time that I've had the ability to speak and to say my piece and to talk about where I'm coming from. And I think the support of everyone he's ever been in a relationship or worked with in the past, you know, very strongly supporting him, I think speaks a lot too. Mika, I don't believe well, here's the problem. As I said, his substance abuse issues have made this not a clear-cut situation. He was very difficult on the set of the last Pirates movie because he was dealing with not only substance abuse, but a very bad situation with Amber Heard. That was happening during that filming. So he's really spiraling out of control for personal reasons. And then also, he's having these very bad interactions with Amber Heard, which, you know, it's important. I've always said that I felt that it was kind of like a false situation on both sides, and neither one of them was innocent and neither one of them was guilty. I feel like it's really just like you guys should separate and we should all move on. And I think, you know, the fact that Johnny Depp has been expelled by Hollywood is really unfortunate. Amber Heard has, for the most part, also been expelled by Hollywood. And I told you that 2 creatives stood up for her for Aquaman 2, even though Warner Brothers had wanted to get rid of her as well. So 1 or 2 creatives. So I think that what I would like to see happen, and because I'm not sure how this case is going to go, I really think everybody just wants to move past it at this point. But I hope that with his testimony today, I hope that the studios will invite Depp back, especially if he's proven that he's now clean. I think he's no longer with Amber Heard. I think he seems to have gotten the help that he needs. And I really feel that he should go back to be making some studio pictures. If I were Disney, it's too late for Grindelwald. And I do think that this latest movie paid a price for that. I think that's one of the elements that hurt it at the box office, the Johnny Depp controversy. So as Paul, you beat me to it. Jack Sparrow. I really want to see Jack Sparrow come back. Because like when I even reviewed the last Pirates movie, and I said it's clear that Johnny Depp is having problems. Even when watching the movie, you were like, this guy's not doing well. And it was, you know, you felt like the studio was just propping him up there for a profit because he seemed to be doing so poorly. But if he's in a better place now and he gets a sobriety coach, and I think if the studio feels If I felt that Johnny Depp went through the steps necessary to prove to me that he was in a better place and that he was going to have somebody looking after him, I would do a Pirates movie. I would make it a shooting schedule that I think that Johnny Depp could handle, even if it makes him supporting again instead of a lead. And I just think that would have worked. I just think that would have worked a lot better. You guys are telling, what do you guys think? I'm ready for Johnny Depp to come back. I thought he was fantastic in Murder on the Orient Express. When Johnny Depp is doing well, when he's in a good place, I think he's still a phenomenal talent, very charismatic. And I do feel very bad about what happened to him. But I feel it's really a two, both, neither innocent, neither guilty. I really feel like it's like you guys should just separate. But what do you guys think? You guys are telling me that Ezra Miller has been arrested again. Let me look it up. Ezra Miller is, I think, he has a very bad situation. It's unclear as to why he was arrested. I have to tell you, with Johnny Depp and Britney Spears and Amanda Bynes and Ezra Miller, I really feel that Hollywood needs to get its act together in terms of supervision. I feel that obviously the conservatorships were bad and were handled poorly, especially by parties that became self-interested. But clearly there are people who need help. Ezra Miller needs a substantial amount of help. I do not feel comfortable with the way some people are painting Ezra Miller as being irresponsible or other issues. Ezra Miller is having a mental breakdown, and he's not getting any help. I think part of it is because Ezra Miller is not, from what I heard, in such a bad place that he's unable to accept help. But that means, is it because he's a celebrity? Why isn't he put on a psychiatric hold by the police? I don't understand that. I don't understand why the police keep releasing him. I mean, it should be clear to them that he's having a breakdown and he needs someone to talk to him. I mean, that's my feeling. The Hawaiian police need to stop catching and releasing Ezra Miller. They need to, hey, Glubby Snot. Toon Dude 19 says, where are his parents? I've heard, I'll tell you as little as I can. Oh, that's correct. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for misgendering him. I've heard that Ezra Miller, his mother, has been trying really hard, and she just can't help them. And it's very sad. And so I think it's time for someone to step in and put him under a psychiatric hold. So we'll see if anyone's able to do it. Millie says for the police to put you on a hold, they have to fit a very specific criteria. Well, I wish that we had a better situation. And maybe this is what happens. This maybe speaks to a lot of the discussion recently about having like-minded people respond to these kinds of incidents with the police, but because they can notice them and see them better for what they truly are. Because I think that people might, maybe the people arresting Ezra Miller feel that they're just, have on a bender instead of seeing the calls for help. So I think this is a complex situation, but I think this country's not doing, or the whole world is not doing enough to help with mental illness and people having the need. So really, really crazy. All right. I hope everything works out with Ezra Miller. But I hope that Johnny Depp, I had felt that it wasn't great for Johnny Depp to continue with this, but I feel, having seen his testimony today, that it was all worth it. And I'm glad that he got to speak his truth. He said truth was the most important to him. I'm glad he got to do that in court today, broadcast to the world. And I think that the world believes him for the most part. Just honest answer. Does anybody believe Amber Heard over Johnny Depp? You don't need to vilify Amber Heard. I'm just wondering if anyone thinks that Depp is guilty. I mean, I think it's really important not to turn, I don't feel comfortable, because I don't know enough about it and I'm not a court of law. But I just feel like everyone should just back off. Jay Garcia believes her. Mexican 8 Nacho says, I think they were both toxic to each other. Yeah, it's really tough if you're not in the room. I mean, I would really just call it as let's just separate. But I do feel that Amber Heard's continued discussion or allusion to it is a problem, which is why Johnny Depp is suing her for defamation. She can't continue to discuss it. I think that's really bad. So I guess maybe if hopefully the court could come to a conclusion where they're like, hey, we're going to find no fault on both sides and we're going to put a gag order on both of you. You just can't talk about it anymore. I mean, they've both been decimated in terms of their careers and financial situations. So that's what I would, if I were the judge, I think that's the fairest, most reasonable thing to do. And then if I were Disney, I would pick up Depp for a Pirates movie. Who here would watch I mean, I think also, based on how Dumbledore did, I don't think they should make a Pirates movie without Depp. I think it would have a similar problem. But who here would see a Pirates movie with Johnny Depp? I would, 100,000% tomorrow. Hey, Liam, welcome back. I would just be so happy for another Pirates movie. It would make me so happy. Johnny Depp's just so great. All right. Okay. So let's go to the third story of the day. Oh, man. Get ready to see me tap dance. This is a crazy one. Boom, baby. All right. So I'm going to try and approach this as neutral as possible. I'm not a fan of Bob Chapek, as many of you know. I really don't like Ron DeSantis. I hate Ron DeSantis. I just want to make that clear. Hate him. All right. So. Whew! Did I miss your super chat, World of Devon? Where is it? I don't see it. It must have been a while. Oh. World of Devon, you super chatted at the wrong time. You should super chat during the question section. All right. Okay, let's talk about this. So, as you all know, Bob Chapek was called to step forward and come out against the Don't Say Gay bill, which is the pop culture term for it, right? Against this bill. No other studio has had to say anything about it. They've all stayed quiet, including Universal, which is a very big part of Florida, because they don't have the same LGBT support and number of employees that the Walt Disney Corporation does. So Disney tried to stay neutral. They were unable to, which I think is fair, especially because Disney was in the midst of forcing a large number of people to move to Florida who work for them, many of them who are in the LGBT community, which was real bad. So Disney, by the way, one of the reasons Disney wants to remain neutral is that they have a very strong number of people who are on the Democratic side and also on the Republican side who support them. Disney, everybody loves Disney, and they make tons of money because of it. So that's why Bob Chapek, I think, tried to play it the way that he did. And I think right now, it's largely conservatives who are in Disney World because I think a lot of other people are reluctant to travel during COVID or to go to the state of Florida. So what's keeping Disney World probably propped up at this point are a number of conservative or conservative-leaning customers. So this is really difficult. But Bob Chapek did the right thing and said he was going to pause all contributions to all state legislators for the time being, and that they were going to work as hard as they could to lobby to get rid of this bill. So Ron DeSantis has decided to hit back. He's been hinting at it. He's the governor of Florida, again, for those of you who are not in the United States and you don't know our political system. So Ron DeSantis, the man on the right, he is the Republican governor, and he has been hinting for weeks, ever since that happened, that he was going to go after Disney's Reedy Creek special district deal, which was the whole reason that Disney went to Florida, because they were given this deal by the local government at that time. And today, Ron DeSantis actually did it. He actually introduced legislation to repeal all special districts in Florida before 1968. This would be my reason for suing if this was going to happen, because the Villages, which is that infamous Republican stronghold where they had two individuals who were the ones who were actually caught cheating in the last election for the Republican side, were from the Villages. The Villages is like the super dark red community, and they have a special district which was awarded after 1968. So Ron DeSantis has really cut the line between the two of them, saying, not to repeal all special districts, but basically just Disney's. So this is, again, so what would that mean? You might be like, what would it mean if they got rid of their special district? Well, right now, Disney can do whatever they want on their own land because they pay for it. They pay for the electric. They pay for the water. They pay for waste. They police their own property. I mean, of course, sometimes local PD will come in if needed, but it's like its own little kind of neutral country in the middle of Florida. So you might be like, well, what would happen if that were repealed? Well, on the one hand, that would significantly raise the costs of locals, because therefore their taxes would now have to cover all of Disney's operations. So that's extremely expensive. But the other problem is, where it affects Disney, is that Disney would no longer be able to do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. Disney would have to get approval from the state, and often probably Republican lawmakers, to make any changes to their theme park. They want to build a new road, they want to build a new theme park, they want to build a new ride, a new building, a new attraction. It would have to be approved by inspectors, and you all know how slow state approvals can move. So, and then they have to deal with all the politics of that. So that's really, really difficult. Now, this is, of course, again, over the Don't Say Gay bill. Now, I know a number of you like to argue that that's not what the bill is. That's untrue. The bill works in a gray area. It doesn't have to say it because it's highly implied. It's like the gray area of the Texas abortion law. I think that if this law was as fair as some people try to argue that it is, it would not focus on the LGBT section of sexuality. It would just focus on all sexuality not being discussed. And also, it's very difficult to feel that there is not malicious intent behind this law when at the same time Florida is breaking down the separation of church and state, which I feel is integral to this country. You cannot combine church and state, which is something the Republican Party is doing across the country, which I have a real problem with. So if you can, I think it's extremely hypocritical to inject church into schools, but then say that you can't have sexuality, right? And again, they're only focusing on one kind of sexuality instead of just sexuality in general. So it's a really difficult, complex situation, but you have to read between the lines. Now, what's going to happen, right? So I think that Ron DeSantis is laying the groundwork for a presidential run, and this is all theater, as some people are pointing out. I think Ron DeSantis doesn't really care what happens with this situation, with what he's put forward. He just wants the headlines for standing up to Disney. And he's using the term woke, which a term is, I absolutely hate. I hate that term. I think it means not caring about anybody else's perspective. So Ron DeSantis just like critical race theory has been a really strong running point for Republicans in local elections and potentially in the next presidential election, I think that Ron DeSantis wants to roll this in as well. So that's what he's doing. Now, when Ron DeSantis first took office, he was like Trump light. But every day, I think he becomes more and more Trump 2.0, which I think makes him very scary. Where I feel Ron DeSantis crossed the line is, I don't know if you saw this, but he had a press conference where he signed a bill and he made it a Fox News exclusive, which is, I feel, should be illegal. If you're signing a bill, it has to be open to all. It seems like something out of like science fiction of a dystopian future where you can't restrict the freedom of the press to access to the signage of a bill. There's such a thing as like exclusive interviews, sure, that's totally fair. But to make a signing of a bill exclusive to something like that, I feel should have been illegal, and I'm shocked that he was allowed to do it. Now, Disney, what can Disney do? Well, first off, Disney is moving 2 huge divisions to Florida, consumer products and Imagineering. You're right, King Louie, we'll get to that in a moment about how slim the margin of his victory was. And I think Ron DeSantis knows that, by the way. But anyway, I think there's a chance that Disney will pull back those moves because those people don't want to move anyway. I know a number of Imagineers are even considering quitting because that's not what I signed up for. My whole life is in California. I don't want to relocate to Florida. So I think there's a very good chance that that Disney will not move those things. Danny, unfortunately, the Don't Say Gay bill passed. Ron DeSantis signed it into law. But this new thing about repealing Reedy Creek, that was just introduced today. So we don't know if it's going to go forward or not. So I think that Disney also, it's important to note, is a huge employer in the state and also drives, I would say, the majority of its tourism. A lot of conservatives like to say, I'll just go to Universal. And with all due respect to Universal, that's a fun theme park, but it's no Disney World. So I feel that Disney World is crucial to the economic health of the state of Florida. So I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and we were like, yeah, Disney should just shut down. They should just shut down the park and be like, we got to think about what we want to do, and just see how Florida likes that. I'd be like, just shut it down like today. I'd be like, okay, I'm canceling all reservations, I'm closing the park, I'm sending all my employees home, and I'm telling everybody that I'm telling all my customers they can't come, and see how everybody likes that. So that's what I would do, all right? And I thought so this is my friend's suggestion, and I was like, that's fantastic. But I don't think that Disney's going to do that because they're making a lot of money right now off of the theme parks. So they're not going to cut off their own nose to spite their face. So they're probably going to apply pressure behind the scenes. So what you're probably going to see is pull the funding, not only of state Republicans, which I guess they've already done, but they might try to do it on the federal level. And then if that doesn't work, they'll go beyond Florida and they will pull their funding from other Republican politicians to apply pressure to Florida. They could also say they're going to stop expansion of anything in Disney World. They've been aggressively expanding in Disney World. They might stop that expansion and focus on expanding Disneyland, which would be very expensive because they don't own the same amount of land. But maybe it's worth it. Now, also, I think that Ron DeSantis, again, as I told you, wants to run for president. Ron DeSantis as a president would be horrible for Disney. It would be a disaster because he would have even more tools to go after the company, including, which some Republican congressmen and women have already suggested, and that's not allowing Disney to renew their copyright status and trademarks for their characters. So that would be a disaster to put Mickey, for instance, in free domain. So that would be very bad. So I think that, if Ron DeSantis thought he had an enemy in the Disney Corporation before, Toon Dude 19, I was thinking Georgia as well. Georgia has similar issues, but they already film a lot in Georgia, so they could potentially do a lot in Georgia. They could, I don't know, it would be so expensive to move their parks there. But anyway, I think that the studio will likely also give huge amounts of money to anyone running against Ron DeSantis. First, in the governor election, which is coming up real fast, and in fact comes up later this year, which might be one of the reasons that Ron DeSantis is really ratcheting up the tension, because he's running for re-election this year, for hoping to get a second term. And he won his first term by just 0.4%. That's how slim the margin of victory was, 0.4%, not even a full percentage point. So I think that Disney's probably going to just pour money into the Democratic candidate and hope they can pull out a victory in that regard. But that's not going to stop Ron DeSantis from running for president. He'll just say, look how hard Disney worked against me to be governor. They know I'm dangerous. And he'll just use that for momentum to run for president. And that next election, of course, is in 2024. But I think that, so with Disney, what they'll do is pour a tremendous amount of cash into the primary, the Republican primary, and try to stop Ron DeSantis from even getting the nomination. That's what they're going to do. So we'll see what happens. I think that fascinating to see Disney versus Ron DeSantis. I think that you're seeing a preview of what's going to happen in the next couple of elections. And you're seeing a major corporation, the Disney Corporation, pulled in to politics. And interestingly, no other companies are being pulled in alongside them. Disney's the only one having to deal with this. And it's just really incredible. So we'll see. I mean, you know, it's whoever wins here is important. So hopefully these are just the death thralls, and this will go away. I miss the time when Democrats and Republicans, you know, for the most part, put the country first and got along. You know where this stems from. If you were to watch Adam McKay's Vice, Dick Cheney pushed through a law which got rid of the fairness doctrine for reporting. It used to be that all reporting had to be neutral when it came to politics and the country. But Dick Cheney passed through this law along with Karl Rove so that Fox News could be created, which are basically allowing propaganda machines. And that's where this all came from. And what really should be done, you have to look back at where these things come from. And that's why these small laws are so important. Like, that law was crucial, and it should be reinstated. Although now there's so much money in propaganda news that the lobbying is a problem. And that stems from politicians not being paid enough so that lobbyists have so much control over them. But also, what was I going to point to? It's so bad. What a bad situation. So the fairness doctrine is crucial. Oh, yes, and with COVID, everyone likes to talk about COVID. But if you look back to during the Trump era of them rescinding not the law where it says you could not do that kind of research, that the United States could not fund that research, the Trump administration rescinded that law, and then they poured money into that kind of research in China, which is how we got COVID. So that law never should have been rescinded. So this is really bad. It's the same with the judge who was said that she shouldn't be a judge in Florida, that she was not qualified, yet the Republicans pushed her forward anyway, and that's how the mask mandate just got repealed. So it's a domino effect, and these things that seem very small are crucial down the line. So I'm annoyed. Yes, there was a whole stampede of unicorns today. That's right, Keith. It's the biggest unicorn ever. And as many of you know, I'm a moderate, but, I'm in the middle. But appalling behavior is appalling behavior. All right. Hey, Stanlos. Let's move on to new things before this gets crazy. All right. So that's right. You can wear a mask, Will, if you want to. But I was reading articles, and I wish that more people would talk about that. Coronavirus is extremely contagious on an airplane, particularly if anyone sitting near you has the virus, because it's such a long time to travel. Now, if you have a mask on, that will certainly protect you. But I'm sure you've seen the charts. You're probably only protected about 60 to 70% if you have a mask on, the other person does not. If you both have a mask on, you are probably about 95% protected or 90% protected. So having one person be able to take their mask off brings that down. Max says, Grace, I just declared my studio art major and I'm going to draw you. Oh, that's great. Please send me the picture. I would love that. Keith says, Grace, what do you think about the Wonder Twins casting? Mika says the same thing. Regardless of representation in that casting, I think that casting is so CW and so ridiculous, I think that show's dead on arrival. I mean, I wish, I know that some people enjoy the CW DC content and that it has its fan base and it's keeping that entire network going, but they should get rid of it. It's drawing down the entire DC brand. I'm like Ethan Hawke. Cut off that arm because it's killing the rest of the body. Let's see. You guys are running a lot of rumors by me that if I have not addressed them, they are probably not true. I've seen a lot of people on social media saying a lot of stuff that's like ridiculous. And they're just playing on your desires, and it's really uncool. So just be very, very, if anyone's telling you anything you want to hear, be very suspicious of that. Oh, my pleasure, Wes. Oh, thanks, Jerome. I'm so glad you enjoyed that interview. Robert Eggers was great. That's easy for you to say. Have I watched Severance? Of course I watched Severance. I love Severance. I'm definitely going to cover the second season next year. I'm a huge, huge fan of Severance. And I talk about it a lot with my super followers on Twitter. If you don't know about that, if you super follow me on Twitter, I basically give you a guide of what to watch, including my own recommendations. So, hey, Skinny Boy German, welcome back. World of Devon, I forgot what you said, something about Black Panther too. Just put it in here again, regular chat, and I'll see it. Barbie Minaj says, do you think Multiverse of Madness can pass 2 billion? I actually don't think it can pass 2 billion. I hope that it can. I hope so. But I think people's expectations are out of control as to what this movie is going to deliver. And so I'm nervous about what the reception will be. I think it's going to be a great movie, but I think if you're expecting, some of the things are just unreasonable. Tyler, I'm not sure if Disney can sue if the bill is passed in Florida. They could have a case to say that it's unfair because of the villages being able to keep they could say that they're being targeted. However, because there are so many crazy judges in Florida, they have to play Russian roulette as to who hears the case, and they could side with the Republican legislature. World of Devon, I haven't seen you re-enter that question. Oh, Patricia, I'm so glad you like the new shirts. That makes me very happy. Ivan says, can we expect casting news for Fantastic Four this year, maybe on D23? I think so. I think they've been quietly already out to actors and talking about it. So, thanks, Ozzy G. Nice to see you. World of Devon. Black Panther 2 is done filming, but I'm scared people will not like it or dismiss it because Chadwick won't be recast. Let's wait till we see the movie. I think Namor is going to knock people's socks off. I think he looks so cool in the movie. And I think, let's just see how the movie looks. I think, let's just see. I think that as I've said before, I feel that doing a variant of T'Challa is the way to go. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I haven't heard anything about this, but considering how vocal people have been, don't be surprised if maybe there's an end credit scene that shows a T'Challa variant. Thanks for the recommendation, Franco. I haven't heard anything about Nova casting just yet. Juan, thank you for that observation about business. Although I'm not majoring in anything, I've already attended college. Barbie Minaj says, what are your thoughts on Walker Scobell as Percy Jackson? When I watched The Adam Project, I was like, that guy's super talented. I think he's very personable. I think he's quite charming. I do think that the show is skewing very young, surprisingly young, whereas the movies skewed a little older with an older cast. I wonder about the broad appeal. I mean, Stranger Things had an appeal, but it had older characters like, David Harbour and Winona Ryder. I think that, and also those characters were older. They were, older teenagers, especially the older characters like Steve Harrington and Jonathan and Nancy. So I feel like there's a slim chance that Percy Jackson could be like a series of unfortunate events. And so I don't think it's going to have the wide appeal that like Marvel and Star Wars do. But it could still be a big show for Disney Plus. We'll see. Devin Hendry says, favorite Marvel comic runs I should read. Read Secret Invasion, because it's coming up. You want to be ready. And it's a great comic. Also, if you're a super follower on Twitter, I give out my weekly stack, too, that I read when I'm purchasing. Harlequin Dove, I just never got the chance to watch Goonies. I think even one vacation, my parents had purchased the DVD, and we just didn't put it in. I'm not quite sure why I've never watched it. Now I'm kind of afraid because I might not like it. And then everyone will be like, go from you didn't watch Goonies to you don't like Goonies. But I think I'm going to put it up as one of the options for the movie club watch along. MJC, I'm actually against remakes for classics. I feel people should watch the classic. I'm a big fan of classic cinema. I haven't watched Outer Range, Yap Dem, but your love for it to use your super chat is impressive. Nuno, I don't think Fantastic Beasts 4 is happening. I think that franchise is done. David, I'm trying to review Flight Attendant Season 2, hopefully on Thursday. Keith, the Revenge of the Sith watch-along will be Movie Club. World of Devon says, Grace, what are your thoughts on Mel Gibson wanting to do a Passion of Christ 2? Well, the first Passion of the Christ was an incredible viewing experience, but I don't really know if that, I think religion has been weaponized to some degree in this country. I don't know if it would be in the same place that it was when the first movie came out. And I also think Mel Gibson, as talented as he is, I don't know. I think that he should leave the movie alone. It's such an iconic film. Why bother hurting it? Why sully its reputation? Silent Magician says, Grace, why are some people saying that the Batman is a failure financially? It's not a failure financially. Is it as super strong as they would have wanted, compared to other comic book movies? No. But I think they've at least broken even, and they're only getting started in the ancillary market. So I think that the Batman is a solid performer for Warner Brothers with a very bright future. Juan Carlos says, Netflix lost, hey Ivan, Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers and it's projected to lose 2 million this spring. Thoughts? A ceiling has been reached in my opinion. Shares are down 70% from their peak in November. Well, as I told you, this is going to happen. And now they're going to have to look for other ways to make money because they have to show growth to their investors because they're publicly traded companies. So that's why I think they're going to crunch down on password sharing. And I think they're going to eventually get microtransactions, just like video games do, just to make sure that you keep making purchases. So it might be if you want to unlock the extras, you have to pay, or some kind of content like that, or maybe to get something early. I mean, we'll see what they come up with. And people will be upset, but they need to make money. Netflix needs to continue to have growth. Hamburger Patties, the one classic movie that everyone should watch is Rear Window. It's a master class in filmmaking, and I will do a BTT movie club for that film where I wrote one of my first papers I ever wrote in film school was on Rear Window. It's the movie that taught me cinema. It's a fantastic film, and I want to wait to watch it though till it's the summer. You got to watch it when it's hot because that's what when the movie takes place. So sometime over the summer we're going to do a watch along for that movie. Rolando, I have not heard specifically about the cancer storyline in the new movie, but I hope that it's in there. I think that's really important. All right, I'll do like 2 more minutes till 5:08. Nuno, I thought the beginning of the final season of Killing Eve was so out of character that I just stopped. I didn't watch the rest of it. But I heard it was not a good final season. AJ Jones says, I just finished the first handful of Ms. Marvel comics. I don't typically read comics, so in light of the new show, should I continue? I would read all of the ones written by G. Willow Wilson. But then I think after that, it kind of loses its way a little bit. I mean, not to say that the stories aren't good, but they're just not as strong as they were at first. I have not seen the Abercrombie and Fitch documentary. Tonight I'm going to start my Ozark screeners. Oh yeah, I'm excited. Let's see what Ruth does. Oh yeah, burn this mofo to the ground. Hey, Remyen. Yes, and by the way, don't forget you can watch Moon Knight with me. This is the last episode that I've seen, and then we'll get into new territory for all of us. But this episode at 3 a.m., is the big twist episode. So to not have it spoiled for you, tune in and watch with me at 3 a.m. Way Harris, it did break. Hela did destroy Mjolnir. They had gone back in time and retrieved it before that for Endgame. But then, of course, remember, Captain America returned it. So it still went on its path to be destroyed. I'm sorry to say, Queen Pin, I did not finish The Tourist. None of my friends wanted to watch it, and so I had other things take up my time. I just finished Julia. The other day I realized that I had Julia screeners. So I was like, I don't have to wait week to week anymore, and I was drunk with power. And I finished Julia, although I didn't like watching them back to back. I had to watch them one a day, or they melded together. But that just is a phenomenal series. I mean, like, awards for everybody. Yeah. Don't get confused. Multiverse of Madness is a Doctor Strange and Wanda movie. It is not an X-Men movie, which some people are trying to say that it is. This is frustrating to me and annoying. But I'm trying not to give too many spoilers because everybody had a bad experience with having No Way Home ruined for them. So I just can't say too much about it. So I'm annoyed about it. I'm annoyed. That's right, Millie Jo. It's not a cameo-centric movie either. In fact, pretty much every cameo, unless Tom Cruise has been held back, because I know he hasn't been any of the screenings yet, but every cameo has leaked. So if you are the kind of person who really wants to know about stuff, you know it. It's driving me crazy. Oh, it's 5:09. All right, everybody. I had such a great time talking to you. Thanks for dealing with these difficult subjects with me. I thought we had a wonderful time, and I think we talked about some really important stuff. So we'll see how all this stuff goes. All right, everybody. Have a great time. And the next live stream, the next live stream we'll be watching Moon Knight at 3 a.m. And then the next news live stream will be Thursday. So it's going to be awesome. All right, everybody. I'll see you soon. You guys are the best. Bye.